So as you can probably tell, I'm on a treadmill. There's that telltale sign or that telltale sound of the treadmill, and obviously this stabilization is probably not so great and I'm bouncing up and down. But anyway, I'm in a hotel right now. I travel a lot, as a lot of you may know. I travel a lot for work, and when I travel I always try to get in a workout. Now I did go to the gym early this morning and get in a lift, and so I'm just kind of doing some maintenance stuff right now, just a little bit of cardio on the treadmill, stuff like that. But what I wanted to do is film a video talking about how you guys can exercise when you travel in a hotel, and maybe there isn't a gym or you don't really want to be in the gym. And I understand hotel gyms aren't very good, and maybe you're at home and maybe you don't have access to a gym at all, and maybe you just need to learn how to do a few exercises on your own without any real equipment. So let's finish up in here and we'll go upstairs and do some exercises. Okay, so now I'm back in the hotel room and I'm gonna go through a few exercises that are just kind of the basics. So we're not gonna get into like a full body, hit every body part. This is just for like, hey, I work out at home, I wanna be able to get more fit. This is someone that's, you know, traveling and wants to get in and exercise or work out while they're on the road and doesn't really have access to a gym. So just some basic things. We're gonna focus on lower body, upper body, and a little bit in the core. And I did bring along one very inexpensive aid to show you how to use this device for a couple of the exercises. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is a squat. Now, before I get started, I'm going to try to keep this video really short, or short as possible. So the first one we're going to do is a squat. We'll start with a body weight squat. Obviously, we don't have weights with us. So all we're going to do is we're going to stand in a squat position, and then we're going to squat down to where our hip is parallel or lower than our knee. And I'll add some illustrations here so that you can see it. But basically what we want to do is we want to ensure that we are squatting down into a nice and relatively deep squat and then standing back up. Now when you're squatting, there is a couple things that's very important. And obviously that is your stance. That's going to be where you position your feet and how you move your knees. A lot of people will end up doing squats to where their knees will kind of bow in as they're trying to stand up, which is where you can have some issues and lose strength. And also the stance might be too narrow or too wide. So you want to find a stance that is relatively neutral for your body type. Now everyone has a different body type and body shape, so how you stand exactly is going to differ depending on the length of your femur, you know, your hip mobility, etc., your ankle mobility. I like to have a stance that's kind of right in the middle, where my feet are a little bit wider than my shoulders, so that basically if my shoulders were going to drop down, they would kind of like fall down like almost on top of my feet, just a little bit on the inside. When I'm going to squat down, I'm going to try to maintain a relatively neutral position when I'm squatting with just a very light squat, like a bodyweight squat. I'm not doing a heavy barbell low bar squat where I'm using more glutes and driving up at the hips. I'm just doing a very simple bodyweight squat. I like to keep my chest up, keep my head facing forward, and just because I need to put my hands somewhere, I just kind of put them right here over my chest in this area, and then I'll squat down so that my knees stay over my feet, and my feet position, they are splayed out at an angle. So depending on, again, your actual makeup, your mobility and flexibility is going to depend on the angle of your feet sticking out. But I like to have them out just a few degrees on each side, pointing out in this direction, and then my knees are going to follow in that same path out over my knees, and my knees are going to stay, how can I explain this, kind of bowed out instead of bowing in. So here I'll demonstrate. Squat, for me, I'm just going to put my hands here. Now, you may not be able to see that because of the camera angle and the fact that I'm just doing this with a DJI action camera in my hotel room. So let me see if I can step back a little bit further here so that you can see. So now I'm very far away from the camera. I'm right here. I'm actually touching the bed, so it's a little bit too in my way. Now that's very easy, right? That's just a very easy squat. You're basically just squatting down, standing up. And you can do a moderate amount of reps, depending on your fitness level. If you do have an issue with this, find something that you can kind of squat down to that will support you. This is just like a little rolling cube that they have in the hotel room. It's a piece of furniture, and it's probably something that you can use as like a stool or put your luggage on. But this is about the perfect height. You can use a chair, you can use a sofa, a box, anything that's going to be stable and allow you to basically squat down to that level and then stand back up. So in this situation, if I were someone that couldn't support my weight at the bottom, I could squat down to the chair, or to, in this case, the little cushion thing, and stand back up. Now you can do two things. You can just go down and touch it and use it as a guide so that you know how deep you're going, or you can actually go all the way down in what we call a box squat and sit down on it. So very simple. So here's where we're going to get into something a little bit more advanced, and this is something that you can get on your own. You can get these at anywhere, any sporting goods store, Amazon, etc. These are just inexpensive resistance bands. They are a continual loop. I like the ones that are a continual loop more than the ones that are just, you know, a singular band. And they come at all different intensity levels, elasticity. So the thicker they are, the harder they are to stretch, and the thinner they are, the easier they are to stretch. So in this example, let's say that you want to add a little bit of resistance. You can put this on and do squats. I'll end up using this bigger one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over my feet, and I'll take some B-roll so that you can see what's going on down here, because you can't really see. But I'll put this over my feet, or under my feet, and then I'm going to have to bend down and put this over my head so that my neck is underneath the strap. Now, if this is uncomfortable for you, you can use like a rag, a towel. Obviously, there's towels in the hotel room, wash rags. You can put that here. For me, I'm just going to have it over my neck, and from here, I'm going to do a squat, but now this band is pulling me down to the floor. So as I squat up, I'm fighting this band and having to push up against it. So there's a variation of squat. One that's just your basic air squat, body weight squat, adding resistance band, and then also using a box to aid you if it's a little bit more difficult. Now there are other exercises that you can do for lower body. You can do, besides just a squat, you can do lunges, you can do step ups, depending on what's available in your room. If you had something that was stable that you could step up on and stand up and do like a step up, or if you want to do lunges, you can do that, and you can even incorporate the bands into those exercises. The next one is one of my favorites. That is the push-up. Now there are a lot of different variations on doing a push-up, depending on hand placement, elbow path, width, and the angle of the push-up, and then you can add again to the push-up with the bands to add more resistance. So we could do it at an incline to make it easier. We could do it at a decline. We can do it at a just a flat normal parallel surface, which is a normal push-up, and then we can play with the variations of our hands and kind of move our grip around. What I want to do is I want to just talk about the real basics of push-ups so that you guys don't injure yourself, because most people, when they do a push-up, most people do a push-up incorrectly, and that leads to problems with their shoulders. You could get some elbow pain, a lot of rotator cuff problems, and just the fact that you're not properly working out the muscles that you're trying to target, and you're just doing it wrong. So what you want to do with a push-up is you want to make sure that you're starting in the proper position. Now I'll show you, I'll take some footage later and show you what a push-up looks like from the side. But what I want you to focus on is how you kind of prepare and set up your body. So as you're standing up and doing a push-up, the first thing that you want to do once you're on the ground and in push-up position with your hands is you want to get your shoulders in the proper position. In order for your shoulders to be in the proper position, you want to pull your shoulders back and you want to pull them down, very much like the video I made about posture. It's the same kind of thing. This is really going to protect your shoulder joint, which is a very shallow joint, and it's also going to protect you from potential rotator cuff injury. So as I do my push-up, before I begin, I'm going to pull my shoulders back and pull them down so that I'm like so, rather than like forward. So I don't want my shoulders forward. I want my shoulder blades retracted, and I want my shoulder blades down. So this is the position that I want to be in. From the back, it looks like this. From there, I'm going to put obviously my hands are on the ground already, so I'm just kind of explaining this to you. From there, I'm going to position my hands in a way that is going to be comfortable for me based on what I'm trying to do and on my level. So if you want to go a little bit narrower, that's a little bit easier, a little bit safer, and also will target more of the triceps. The wider that you go, it becomes a little bit more advanced and definitely puts a lot more strain on the pectoral muscles, but also some on the anterior deltoid, which you also want to be a little bit careful of. So I want to do kind of a narrower position or a neutral position, and I like to have my hands at kind of that same position as we had our feet in a squat, a little bit of an angle. And the reason why is I want to think about how the path of my arms are traveling. What I don't want anyone to do is do a push-up to where your arms are going straight back and your elbows are going straight back, like in a 90-degree position, like so, because that's where you get a lot of the stress in this area, and that's where you can get the pain. What you want to do is make sure that you retract those shoulder blades, pull those shoulders down, be like so, and that your elbows are going to be at an angle, so they're coming like this way rather than straight across like this. So as you do your push-up, your elbows are kind of, think about like you're bending something. So I always like to tell people when I'm teaching them how to bench press, think about trying to snap the bar and bend the bar this way. It's the same thing with the push-up. You almost want to think about like you're trying to like turn the floor like, you know, inside out almost, so that your elbows are going to drop. So when you're doing your push-up, your elbows are coming down at an angle to your side rather than straight out at a 90-degree angle. And then with the push-up, there are different variations. If you do an incline push-up, which means that your feet are on the floor and your hands are elevated, like on a chair or a couch or something like that, that's going to be easier because you're pushing less weight. There's less gravity working against you. On the opposite side, if you're doing a decline push-up for someone more advanced, that means your hands would be on the floor or on a lower surface and your feet would be elevated. You have gravity working against you and there's more weight pushing down on you. Or if you're just doing a neutral push-up, you're just flat on the deck. Hands and feet are both on the floor. When you're doing a push-up, you want to make sure that you have a rigid back. You want to make sure that your glutes are tucked in and that you've got a very level plane across your whole back, from your shoulders all the way down to your legs, where you don't have, you know, your back arched up or your butt arched up. You want to be very level throughout the whole push-up. So in addition to the normal push-up, incline or decline push-up, the other thing that you can do is you can use a resistance band. Now the resistance band is going to do the same thing, where it is adding some resistance against your pushing up motion as you're doing the push-up. So all you would do is you would put the band in your hands like so and put it directly over your back so that it's right over your shoulders, just like that. So as you're doing a push-up, and I'm not going to demonstrate because I got to keep moving the camera around, but as you're doing a push-up, all you're doing is you're doing your normal push-up as you would before, but this band is working against you. So in addition to the body weight that you're pushing, you're also pushing against the resistance of this band. Obviously, the thicker the band, the more resistance. So here we've got the thicker one, this big purple one that I have here. Same thing, if I were doing a push-up, I'd have my body weight plus this band pulling me down. And it's adding resistance. And then, in addition, you could actually just do this without having to get down in a push-up position at all, and just do this as an exercise rather than doing a push-up. So now let's talk a little bit about our core. There are a couple things that you can do. You can do planking, and planking is something where you're basically just staying in a very tight position, keeping your core engaged, and then staying in a perfectly planked position, holding yourself there. And that's going to make sure that your core is stabilized, because the longer you sit there, the more you're going to have to be fighting that stabilization, and that's going to be activating all these muscles in your core. Now don't forget that when you're talking about core, you're not just talking about your abs, because that's only half of your core. Core meaning the center, so your low back. This whole area is your core, right? So we want to make sure that we're engaging both sides. Planks do a lot of that. The good thing about planks is it's something that you can do pretty much anywhere if you've got a clean surface. Hotel room floors, not the cleanest. I definitely will be washing my hands and my arms after doing these exercises here to show you, but you can also lay a towel down or something like that, especially because it's not your towel. It's going to be cleaned by housekeeping, or if you're at home, just, find a clean spot on the floor where the kids aren't, walking around in their muddy shoes or dog's not rolling around on, and you can do your exercises there. So planking would be one thing. Another thing is to do any type of crunching workout or abdominal exercise. I personally don't like crunches and sit-ups. I've never found them to be highly beneficial in all of my years of doing exercises, from the military, from being a fighter, from being into bodybuilding and things like that. I've never really felt that sit-ups and crunches were ideal. I always found other exercises to be better. What I like to do is I like to do a leg raise. Obviously a hanging leg raise would be ideal, but in a hotel or at a home situation, you don't always have access to a pull-up bar. So I can do them just laying on a bed. So I can lay on the bed, have my legs hang over, and just do leg raises with my legs straight, and doing leg raises up and down on the bed. All right, so great. We've done low body, we've done core, we've done upper body. We haven't really done anything for our heart, that cardiovascular, that big muscle right here underneath that's pumping blood throughout our body. We haven't really done anything for our lungs, to expand our lungs and to have better lung health. So you can incorporate some type of cardio in your room. And when we talk about cardio, I think people get confused with cardio and fat burning. So cardiovascular system is your pump, right? Your heart, and all the workings that are happening there with your heart pumping blood throughout your body. It's not necessarily fat burning. A lot of people associate just sitting on the treadmill and walking at 2 miles an hour as cardio. There is some cardio involved there, but that's also a lot of calorie burning, and that's basically caloric exercises where you're burning calories so that you're reducing weight, etc. Your heart is working a little bit, but not the same as doing other high intensity workouts. So in our cardio scenario, we're not going to be doing something sustained for a long period of time where we're doing fat burning. We're more focused on making our heart work, making our lungs work, and getting a good pump in our body. The best one, which is probably the least popular, but one of the most effective, and I came to love these, not really, when I was in the Marine Corps, and that is the burpee. Now, most people know what a burpee is. If you don't know what a burpee is, you've been lucky in life so far. A burpee is an exercise that doesn't require any type of equipment. All it requires is you to have a space that's roughly about 4 feet by 6 feet and nothing else, and then enough space ahead above you to where you're not going to be hitting anything. So in a burpee, what you would do is you would squat down, drop into a push-up position, do a push-up, get back on your feet, jump up, and then repeat. And that is something that you would do over and over and over. Now you can do them for a number, so you can say I'm going to do 20 burpees, and then I'm going to pause and do another exercise, or you can say I'm going to do burpees for 30 seconds straight, or a minute straight, or whatever it may be. I can tell you they are killers in a good way, and it's a very, very intense and difficult workout, which is why most people groan and try to avoid them when anyone brings up burpees. They are an excellent workout. That's why they're used in the military. That's why we use them in the Marine Corps. The Navy SEALs will do them. That's why you see a lot of younger football players, football teams. When I was playing football, we had to do them in our football gear. It was dreadful. So it is a very good exercise, low impact, and it does work out your entire body. So you are jumping, you're getting that explosiveness in your legs, you're pushing with your upper body, you're going up and down, you're breathing heavy, your blood is flowing. So I am on the 3rd level of a hotel. There are people down below. I am a big guy, so I don't want to do a bunch of these. I'm just going to do a couple just to demonstrate what the burpee looks like. And I'm going to go at a slow pace. I'm not going to be very intense and focused on getting in the workout myself. I'm just kind of showing you what this looks like. This would be something that you'd want to do on the 1st floor of a hotel, or do it in the daytime when people aren't sleeping, because it can be quite noisy if you're jumping up and down and you're heavy-footed. Okay, so there you have it. Just a few simple exercises that you can do anywhere, your home, your hotel, a park, pretty much anywhere that you go where you have a few feet of space to do a little exercise. You can do an exercise. So again, This is not really for that advanced person, but it could be if you want to, you know, adapt and take some of these exercises and make them a little bit more difficult by using bands, etc. But for the most part, it's just to show the average person out there that you can do a lot with very little. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.